Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I worked in a yum job place in Singapore a few years ago. We are not really high-end, but we do have varied menu, which our customers love. Normally, people order 3 to 5 items per person, and it's more about the tea and conversation. Apparently, not for inconsiderate customers. It was a sunny afternoon. Yum cha is usually a brunch time activity, so we weren't that busy. Enter the annoying rude customers, a middle-aged couple who proceeded to order the whole menu. The whole menu. That's about 40 items, and we had to move them to a bigger table. Due to the unprecedented volume, my manager had to confirm with the store owner and the kitchen. Before you ask, yes, I did try to convince them otherwise. The manager did as well. Nope, they wanted the whole menu. Experienced with this kind of situation, my manager asked the kitchen to send the items out staggered, 10 at a time, so we don't waste food and they don't pay for what they don't need, which we soon realized was for naught. They ate it like a sampling tray, sometimes eating only the shrimp on top of the siu mai. They were obviously waiting for everything, so we served everything, and by the end, there wasn't a clean plate in sight. They obviously enjoyed it a lot though and asked for the check. $300? What costs $300? Exclaimed the man. I froze for a while. I did not expect this reaction. Sir, that was 40 items. I can check the menu again, but it's reasonable for it to cost that much. I will not pay, it's too much. The man took out his phone and started dialing. I am calling the police. You are exploiting me for money. I won't take this. I tried to say something, but my manager stopped me. We do apologize, sir. What about I call the store owner and see if we can strike a discount? You better. The woman broke the silence and said, then proceeded to light a cigarette in a restaurant, looking annoyed and offended. The man put down his phone. He wasn't calling anyone. The manager went to call the store owner and hinted to me to inform the police. Remember, this is in Singapore. Smoking indoors is a serious offense. My manager returned with bad news. The owner is upset and won't concede. So the man threw a fit and smashed one of the baskets on the ground. To be honest, I was relieved at that stage because the police were coming, and this could only help our case. In a few minutes, the police arrived. Both customers' attitudes flipped, and they started a sobbing story about how big restaurants bully poor customers. All the while, the police never took their eyes off the giant table stacked with steam baskets and the one smashed on the ground. After their story, the police picked up the cigarette butt on the table. Did you smoke here, madam? After some further questioning, the customers went with the police. The next time I heard about them was when my manager told me they were mandated to pay in full, including damages. A big cherry on top is that the lady was fined $200 for smoking in enclosed areas. First, I will tell you about my crazy brother. Growing up, he was always a clown doing voices and antics to keep everyone laughing. He was shameless and getting a good laugh from everybody. On top of that, he was always a tough guy and a fighter, but he always stuck up for the underdog and was never a bully. He was also built 6'4" and 220 pounds and had NFL tryouts as a tight end. Fast forward 40 years, decades of undercover drug work and then bounty hunting some of the worst cases in the country have taken their toll. He is a middle-aged, grizzled, tough guy that has been beaten down but not defeated. We were both at my mother's place on the southeast coast, visiting, and had to go to the local Piggly Wiggly for supplies. While checking out at the register, a stereotypical native NJ Karen, 45, short, skinny, just ate a lemon look on her face, big black hairdo, and all walks up to the bagging end of our line and shoves a $20 bill in the young checkout girl's face, demanding change. In a meek voice, the girl tells Karen that she cannot give her change. She will have to go to customer service. Karen reacts like all Karens, but since this was a native New Jersey Karen, She did it in an extra nasty manner. She started screaming at the poor girl about, "I need to get filtered water. You need to give me change now." The girl said again in an even quieter voice that she was not allowed to make change. After several rounds of this, the little girl was getting quieter and quieter. Karen finally screamed, "It's not my fault you're so fat and stupid. You have to work here. Now give me change." The girl, with tears in her eyes, tried to respond again but could not even make a sound. Just then, my 55-year-old, 6'4", 240-pound brother took a step towards NJ Karen and started barking at her. This is not just a slight bark or even a normal loud bark. This is the loudest, deep-chested, most obnoxious bark any human being is capable of creating. Every time New Jersey Karen starts to open her mouth, he starts barking. Karen does not give up easily, and it takes a good 3 to 4 rounds of barking to drive her off to the customer service desk. By this time, all the shoppers and a little checkout girl are laughing as hard as they can. Trust me, all Southerners dislike the native NJ Karens that have infiltrated their coastal community much like the bad machine dirty Canadian geese. With Karen gone, the little checkout girl finished checking us out as I paid. My brother handed her a $20 and said that's for having to put up with all the rude customers. The little girl started crying as that was probably 4 hours of take-home pay for her at the time. You would think this was the end of the story, but my brother is crazier than that. As we are walking out with groceries, we see the native NJ Karen at the service desk giving poor service guy trouble. So my brother starts barking at her again. She turns to complain to service guy, and every time she opens her mouth, she gets barraged with barking. She finishes getting her change and beats it out of the store. As we exit, we see the native NJ Karen pulling an empty water cooler jug out of the preferred native NJ Karen mode of transportation, a Cadillac Escalade, which she of course had left parked in the fire lane. She had needed the change to fill up her jug from the filtered water machine. She turns and sees my brother and is driven in the way that all Karens are driven to have the last word. She starts to scream at my brother and he starts to bark at her until she finally gives up, broken in glorious Karen defeat. We get to my car and my brother is in the most joyous mood I have seen him in years. He cannot control his hoarse laugh of sheer joy. I start to pull out and he says, "Drive by her car." I drive by and my brother puts his window down, sticks his entire upper body out the window, and starts barking at her all the way through the parking lot. As we pass, she runs out into the lot and takes a picture of my license plate with her cell phone. I wish I could have heard the response of the police when she asked them to go question me 3 states away about someone barking at her. Of course, she was a native NJ Karen and probably told the police that we tried to murder her. But she does not realize that Southern police hate native NJ Karens just as much as everyone else. So it happened. I finally met my first Karen after 19 years. I've met many people with a Karen haircut, but they have all been nice. Not this time though. I work at a well-known corner shop in the UK. We also happen to have a well-known sandwich shop as part of our shop. Now they have a fancy coffee machine that makes lattes and all the fancy coffee. So we all tend to use that to get tea or coffee. Sometimes they'll offer to make one for us. In the mornings, there is usually only one person making sandwiches, and we always have 2. One supervisor and one sales assistant. Well, this morning I was behind their counter making myself a cup of tea because I hate coffee and I only know how to make tea on the machine. The sandwich store employee was out in the warehouse sorting out their delivery when Karen came in and caught me. I had my back to her, minding my own business. Now bear in mind our uniforms are completely different. Ours is black with our company name. Theirs is green with a hat with their company name on the front of the shirt in huge letters. "Excuse me." I turn around and smile. "Yes, hello, I'll be over in just a second." I assumed she was a customer for my side. "Make me a latte and a cappuccino to go." "Oh, sorry, I'm afraid I can't do that. I don't work here." But you're using the machine and are behind the counter, so you can just make me my drinks. No, I'm sorry, I don't know how to make the drinks you want. And I don't work for the sandwich shop. I work for the corner shop and my uniform says so. I point to the company logo on my shirt. I don't care, you're behind the counter, so you can make my drinks. I was getting fed up. I'm tired and it's too early to be dealing with this. I was just making myself a cup of tea. If you give me a second, I can buzz up the employee so she can make your drinks. No, you're behind the counter. Don't lie to me. I saw you use a machine, so you do know how to use it. You're just being difficult, you jerk. Look, I am not lying to you and I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. I start to walk to the door to go to my side of the shop with my tea. Don't you dare walk away from me, you witch. By this point, I've had enough, so I carry on walking to my side when she grabs my arm, making me spill my tea over both of us. Great. I'll have to clean that up. I ignore her and keep walking and immediately buzz my supervisor up. Karen's still having a go at me and screaming about how I threw my tea over her. Luckily, the supervisor finally heard all the commotion and came over. What's the problem here? I tried to get some help from this employee here and she ignored me. When I went to ask her again, she threw her drink on me. Look, it's burnt me. She proceeds to show the supervisor where the tea landed on her arm. What? That's not true. I was making myself a drink and explained to her that I couldn't make her drink for her. When I said that, she got all mad and grabbed me, making me spill my drink. Go watch the cameras. At this, Karen looks a little scared but still kept her story. The supervisor goes to look at the cameras and I go back behind the counter to serve other customers. Karen stood quietly by the door and I'm surprised she didn't try to leave. The supervisor comes back out and proceeds to bang Karen for laying hands on me. She was fuming but ultimately left when the supervisor threatened to call the police for assault. I now have the satisfaction of seeing her face plastered on our wall of shame every time I work. Many years ago, I got a job working in a retail store. This store and two others were owned by a young couple and another young woman. I worked there happily for about a year and became very good at my job, which included reminding the owners when stock needed replacing, merchandising, and so on. At one point, we lost a few staff in rapid succession, leaving myself and my friend as the only long-term staff. Then my friend was offered a managerial position with one of our competitors, so she left as well. This left me to train all the new staff, run the floor, deal with the vendors, place orders, do pricing, basically manage the store. So I approached the owners about being named the new manager since I was already doing the job just without the pay or title for several months. They said that sounds great, but we'd like you to do a management course before we make it official. But before you do that, can you just wait a couple more months until all the new staff have been trained? I naively agreed to do this, thinking long term it would be to my benefit. During the waiting time, one of the new staff got very chummy with the owners. She had never worked retail before, wasn't particularly good at the job, but was super friendly to them. Next thing I know, they have appointed her the new manager. Needless to say, I didn't take this news particularly well, especially considering she was still constantly asking me how to do things. Let's just say my attitude toward work changed drastically. I no longer cared. Stock was getting low, well, not my job. Next week's roster hasn't been done. Well, not my job. I still performed all the tasks I was paid to do. And all my customers loved me, but I stopped doing any extra work. Then I get dragged into the owner's office for a meeting. We have noticed that your attitude has changed. You aren't going above and beyond them, blah blah blah. So we would like to give you the next 2 days off to think about why you want to continue to work here, and we would like it in writing. Before I had even walked out, I knew I was going to be resigning. I went home, talked to my husband, and he agreed I should just quit. So I took my 2 paid days off to spend time with my family and get a new job. When I went back into work, I was greeted with smiles and they eagerly took the piece of paper I handed them. The look on their faces dropped to shock when they realized what they were reading was my resignation, and not an account of how much I loved working there and all the reasons I wanted to stay. I worked my 2 weeks' notice and happily left to greener pastures in my new job. Less than a year later, their store closed down. So I guess their choice of manager did not go so well. My name is Mike, and I'm just a regular 20-something dude. Living a pretty normal life. I used to be a slap fight competitor back in high school, but nowadays, I'm more of a spectator. So I'm sitting on this bench watching the action, and there is this entitled lady Karen with her bratty kid. Karen wanted the front row seat for the slap fight that was taking place in a local park, but there was a girl in a wheelchair already sitting there. The girl's name is Lily, and she's a younger sister of a legendary slap fight competitor, Josh. Oh my bad, I got so caught up that I forgot to explain what slap fighting is for those who might be scratching their heads. So let me break it down for you. Slap fighting is like a combination of arm wrestling and a high five gone wild. It's a sport, yes, it's a legit thing, where two opponents face off and instead of throwing punches, they take turns slapping each other across the face. Sounds crazy, right? Now before you dismiss it as some barbaric nonsense, let me tell you there is technique and skill involved. It's not just about brute strength, it's about precision, timing, and endurance. You want to slap your opponent with enough force to make an impact, but without causing any serious harm. It's more about testing your pain tolerance than causing injury. Believe it or not, slap fighting has a passionate following, and there are actual competitions with rules and referees. These events draw crowds of enthusiasts, cheering and gasping with every slap. It's like a mix of adrenaline, machismo, and camaraderie. I was once a part of this world, and let me tell you, it's an experience like no other. The friendships forged on a slap fighting circuit are unbreakable. We might slap each other silly in the ring, but outside of it, we're like one big, slightly bruised family. So the park where the story went down is a sort of unofficial slap fighting arena where local enthusiasts gather on weekends to put their skills to the test. Anyways, let's get to the story. Karen was just oblivious to all that, and she starts demanding that Lily move so her kid can have a better view. Hey you, move out of that seat right now. My precious angel needs it more. I'm sorry ma'am, but I can't. This is the only spot I can comfortably watch from. You're just faking it. People like you ruin everything for others. Lily remained calm, but Karen wasn't having any of it. She reached over and slapped Lily right across the face. Yeah, you heard that right. Slapped a girl in a wheelchair. The nerve. Lily was shocked and she started crying, but poor Karen had no clue. She just messed with the wrong family. Josh saw everything from across the arena, and let me tell you, this guy is massive, both in size and in slap fighting skills. Josh, roaring at this point, who the heck just laid a hand on my sister? He stormed over like a beast, and Karen suddenly realized the gravity of her mistake. I didn't know she was your sister. She was acting like a freaking brat. Josh wasn't having any of it, and he was ready to show Karen what real slapping was all about. Before things escalated further, I quickly intervened and said, hey Josh, let's handle this the right way. Let's call the cops. We dialed the police, and within minutes, they were there taking statements from everyone. Karen was trying to weasel her way out of trouble, but the truth was clear as day. She had slapped an innocent girl in a wheelchair just because she wanted a better view of a slap fight. The officer tells her, ma'am, you're under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent. Karen, snarling at the officer, are you serious? I had to put up with that wheelchair-bound burden ruining our view. She doesn't even belong here. Her insensitive and hurtful comments sent shockwaves through the crowd. The officer's expression changed from one of mild surprise to stern disapproval. But before the officer could finish reading her rights, Josh, with a swift and powerful slap, delivered the thunderous blow to Karen's face. She was taken aback and collapsed on the spot unconscious. The park fell silent for a moment as everyone processed what just happened. Then the police immediately called for an ambulance and Karen was eventually taken away on a stretcher. But sadly, one of the officers started detaining Josh as well and putting handcuffs on him for knocking the living hell out of Karen like that, and eventually he was taken away too. While what Josh did may have seemed extreme, we knew that his protective instincts had kicked in. I think what he did was justifiable, at least in the eyes of most of the people witnessing this whole mess. The crowd around us paused to a shock and awe, witnessing the unforgettable turn of events. Josh's legendary slap fighting skills had been put to use in an entirely unexpected way. As we watched the ambulance and police car disappear from sight, we knew that this day would be remembered in the slap fight community for years to come. Life sure is unpredictable, my friend. But it's moments like these that remind me why I'm proud to call Josh my friend. Him standing up for his little sister like that will always be something worth a lot of respect. Our story will be temporarily paused here as I don't have more to share right now. Based on my current knowledge, I'll surely follow what'll end up happening to Josh and we'll keep you guys posted once things get clearer. I worked at a company straight out of high school that deals with sports/workwear as well as branding. I went into the interview for a store man responsible for the cage, a place where we kept orders that were ready to be delivered as well as orders that are still awaiting payment. I started in early 2018 and it went well for the first 2 months. Then I found boxes of orders from more than 6 years ago and asked my boss about it. Her answer was to move me from the warehouse to the financial department to find out why they are still there. First, I know almost nothing about finance. Secondly, as a guy of over 2 meters tall sitting at a desk in a small office just doesn't work for me. But it came with a new job title, finance administrator, whatever that is, and a pay raise. So fine with me. Getting paid more for the same job and all I have to do is go through some old papers as well. Sign me up. Over the next couple of months I made a list. I went through the whole cage and found more old orders. I found more than 80 orders totaling over a couple million in value. Every time I figured out why they were still there, I added a reason to the list, as well as saying what happened to the items. My boss would look good in front of the owner. If there was no reason as why it was still there, or why it was there to begin with, my boss took that box, and I never thought of it again. I just updated the list with which boss took that order. So when I finally had a reason for every order older than 1 month that was still there, I got a raise again and went back to the original job I was hired for. Still with the finance administrator title on my contract. I was suddenly called to my boss's office where I was told I was useless and not doing my job, and I was promptly fired. And here is where my revenge comes in. That list I had was on my computer and the only copy of the list was in my personal email as I would work from home sometimes. I hand-wrote the list and then typed it at home, so when I went to hand in my laptop, I made sure to remove everything that I did from it. No list, no emails, nothing left. I then contacted a lawyer to ask for advice. My dad recommended I do this, saying they have no valid reason for firing me. My lawyer had a field day with this case, so I got more than 2 years worth of pay, my full contracted time, as well as an apology from my ex-boss. But it doesn't end there. I contacted the owner of the company and informed him that I still had that list, and how my boss had fired me without reason, cost the company money, and how she took stock if I couldn't find a reason as to why it was still there. He informed me that he would look into this, and I sent him the list out of good faith. He was a nice guy the few times I met him. Finally, today I was talking to a friend that still works there. I was told that the police had shown up and had dragged that boss away in cuffs for stealing stock. I think this qualifies as pro-revenge because it wasn't pity. This just happened, well finalized yesterday. Note, please don't message me asking for videos and Facebook posts and things. I promised my wife that I can tell my stories on here, but not share anything like pictures or videos. Plus, we don't want her face plastered over the internet. Anyone who follows me or reads any of my posts knows something about my wife's best friend, whom I will call Karen, a Harvey from hell. She makes everyone, even my wife, sometimes miserable. She also thinks she's smarter than everyone and just stuck up enough to believe no one would dare cross her. So a friend of ours, whom I'll call Bill, bought a piece of property next door to us. He had a bad car accident in November and lives an hour away. He made me a legal agent of the property, which means I have almost as much power as he does. Think property manager. It had a small house on it that is unoccupied, but I keep an eye on things. He bought the property only because next to the house is a big asphalt parking lot. It used to be a lot for a small used car company. His reasoning was that during the bad winter months he could park equipment and trucks from his other companies there. So he also had me put up huge no parking, violators will be towed at owner's expense signs all over around it. So he also had me put up huge no parking, violators will be towed at owner's expense signs all around it. Moving on, so Sunday I'm elbow deep into an RC submersible when my wife bursts into my study and yells for me to listen to something. I take the phone and who is doing a live video? Karen was talking about how she was going away for a few days. This was Sunday morning because she was also so stressed out from always giving people advice and helping them through their problems and so on. And then she mentioned again why my wife told me. She talked about how she parked her 46-foot fifth wheel 35 Salon camber next door to me, and seeing Belle was unreachable this week, I would have to look at it for the next 3 days as a reminder that she's not only smarter, but 10 moves ahead of me, and I'm a jerk because I wouldn't loan her a truck, but it cost her money to rent one. Turns out she told her husband, who is gone during the week for work, that she had Bill's permission to put it there. So early Sunday morning, he towed it over there. I was angry. She has a tendency to lie, so I went outside. And there it was. Parked right there in the middle of the lot was her camper. I actually smiled because I had a perfect plan. As a property manager, I had also a right to have any vehicle towed off there, including that one. I had two options. Call Garage A, owned by a nice guy who doesn't charge the state maximum for the tow and storage fees. Explain what happened and he might cut you a break. Then there is Garage B. He doesn't care if he has to tow your car 15 feet. He is charging you the max and always charges the maximum storage fees. So you're darn right I went with Garage B. Called the guy, gave him my name, told him I managed the property, and brought a fifth wheel. He had it gone in less than half an hour. This is the best part yet, my friends. I didn't tell her it was towed until yesterday morning. Yes, I waited from Sunday afternoon till Tuesday morning. Yesterday morning, she was on Facebook live streaming from her car, talking about how she was going to go visit her camper for another laugh. Then I got on live, my wife sent her a message to get on my live stream like now, and posted the link to my page. When she was viewing, I said this: "Hey Karen, I hope you had a wonderful time. I have to tell you something, I had your camper towed. With me being the property manager and Bill being unavailable, I had to have it towed. We can't let people think they can just park there illegally. XYZ Tow has a camper. I was going to call you Sunday, but you seemed so stressed out that I thought you deserved a break. I mean, the camper is safe, that's all that matters, right?" Well, Facebook lit up like a Christmas tree. As I had hoped, those watching her stream followed because they were curious to, and then the messages started. A few condemned me, but most were supportive. Some thought it was about time someone showed her that she wasn't all-powerful and that no one was scared of her. Then it went quiet. Now a normal person might be mad but understandable, but she went the wounded Karen route. That afternoon she got back on again. She was crying, fake crying, about how it was going to cost her over $2,000 in fees because her husband wouldn't be back till Friday to tow it back, and could someone please do it for her? A bonus I was hoping would happen, and that if she started the GoFundMe page, would people donate to help her pay the fees? The answers to that were between no and no way. But hey, she didn't threaten to sue me at least, right? Side note, Bill is unavailable this week except to certain people, which I am part of. I called him and told him the whole story. His answer was exactly good. You want to play games and be prepared to lose. The camber is still there, no one volunteered to get it. A few said they would for gas money, but she tried to play it off as it would be helping her, and she owed so much in fees that she would owe them a favor. A favor no one could collect on because she has nothing to bargain with.